Okay, my beautiful friends. Hello. Hey. Hello. It's me, Kirsten, and this is the It's Giving Mystical podcast. And this is your podcast for the week of November 21st. November 21st. So we had that new moon. I'm actually recording this before the new moon. Don't tell anyone. And so I'm not sure exactly how that's landing. The astrologers are making a mighty fuss about it. There's a lot of talk of Uranian shock and surprise and Mercury and retrograde and Scorpio and like a big stew of a mess. So let me know how that goes for you and whether you feel inspired and liberated by what happened, or whether you feel shocked and surprised, or some other combination of all of the above. Let's just stay where we are. The Three of Wands was such a beautiful reclamation of your sight and your power, and I hope you felt that. So I hope whatever happened around the new moon, well, the thing that kind of came through, we were having a call on Mystic Rising, and the thing that came through, and it came through in the full moon circle as well, actually, was this idea that you have set some plans in motion. So last year, 2 years ago, the last 3 or 4 years, you've had this wish, like, oh, I want this. Like, this is something I'm cultivating or preparing myself for or manifesting. And you've wanted to feel a certain way. So whatever you're manifesting, it's had like a felt quality to it. And the Sky Daddy energy of November and the pressure being put on us by the retrogrades. I think there's like so many planets in retrograde, and the Uranian like aspecting, and I think there's a Kazemi, the Mercury Kazemi with this new moon. So all of that's happening, and it's kind of putting this pressure on you to break through a final wall. There's something that you're being pushed up against to get what you want, to achieve this thing you've been calling for, dreaming of, wanting. I'm very clear on what it is in my life, and it feels very precious, so I'm not going to share it here. But I'm being pushed up against a wall. Like, I'm being pushed up against a wall, and not in the fun way. I'm being pushed up against this wall, and as I sit in that space, and as I stay there, in a little bit of a limbo, not able to make the final break, but also not interested in going back, I'm having these really clear realizations about where I've been my own disempowerment. And there's something about this, I think, and I'll catch you on the next podcast, but I think part of what this new moon is doing is it's giving you the final momentum, the final kind of push to get through that wall, to get to the other side, to be in a place where you get to create a new story. I heard someone say that because of the way this new moon is activating, that it's the first new moon that we're entering, or maybe it was the Libra full moon, but something about this month, the activation is we're entering a new cycle, and the new cycle is one in which we've completed the karma of the last cycle. That's just kind of an interesting idea, and something about it feels true, feels on track. So this new moon, and then we had this Three of Wands, and now we're being offered the Nine of Wands for the week ahead. Again, just to do a little tarot numerology chit chat, the 3 is the perfection of the suit. And the reason that the 9s are the completion and the 9s are so powerful in tarot and in numerology is because the 9 is the trinity of trinities. So it's the perfection brought to the higher octave, which is actually Uranus is the higher octave of Mercury. So it's interesting that energy is with us as well. But this idea of the 9 being the trinity of trinities. So you have the perfection of the 3, but brought to the third power. There's a reason why with the wands in particular, that's really important. There's something about this path that you get put on with the 3 of Wands and the 9 of Wands. We call that the Wounded Warrior card. And I've said this to you before, but I'll always say it. There's 2 ways of holding that energy. There's holding the energy in this kind of hypervigilance, like, listen, dude, I went out on the road. It was hard. I got my ass kicked. I have had my heart handed to me 17 different ways, and I'm tired. And so I stand here having accomplished a lot, yes. Having walked for some miles, yes. But just like ready for the next battle, ready for the next fight. That's one way of holding the 9 of Wands. Like, okay, I built this fence, and where you want to go? Like, I'm gonna fight you. I'm ready to defend that. And then there's the way of holding the 9 of Wands to be like, do you see who I am? Like, do you see who I am? I have walked these same miles. I have fought these same battles. I've gotten my ass kicked. I've gotten my heart handed to me. And I sit here knowing who TF I am. Like, I know that whatever comes here, I can handle it. Like, I've seen it all, baby. I've seen it all. I am the wounded warrior, and I am thriving there because I know that that's not all that I am. Like, I know that that's actually me gathering my power, gathering my strength. And I pulled the card from the Mother Peace deck, which is my second favorite deck, tarot deck, and she really holds this energy differently, right? The Wounded Warrior in the 9 is like, he's all bandaged up. The Wounded Warrior in the 9 of Wands is the woman in her own power, is a woman like fully centered in her power, fully alive and aware of her power. So the 9 of Wands coming, it does say, like, check yourself, like, notice. It came in reverse. And again, like, we all know I'm a little skittish about reverses, but the way this landed in reverse, it was like, don't be so defensive. That was the energy that came through. There's a sense of, are you taking your old battles and are you bringing them to the forefront while you face new opportunities? There's something really important about like knowing who you are, knowing what you can handle, knowing how prepared you are, so that when you meet the new thing, when you step out, when you break through this metaphorical wall I was just talking about, and you enter this new path, you step out onto this new path, you step out onto it with a sense of, okay, listen, life, challenging. Sometimes I get scared, but I know who I am. Like, I know who I am, and what I have lived, what I have endured does not determine who I am moving forward. And I'm going to try to stay intentional about not bringing my past into my vision as I view my future. So in relationships, in challenges, in endeavors, in projects, trying to, as like best possible way, come to these things with fresh eyes, and to not hold other people, other places, other projects, other communities responsible for the pain you've endured in the past. There's like a lot in that, but the basic premise is, be so kind to yourself. Hold your heart with gentle hands as you grieve and understand and metabolize what you've endured to get to this place. And then have the courage to turn to the world still with an open heart, still with a soft heart. The work that we did this month of Mystic Rising around the mystic, the image that came through in the most recent call was this idea of the eye of the heart, right? It's something that they talk about in mystic traditions. They talk about in alchemy, the decentering of our vision, taking our vision out of our head space, our mind space, even away from our third eye, and dropping it into our heart space to see with the eyes of the heart. And there's something about that that's just here. And when we do that, there's just this compassion and this patience and this kindness and this way in which love becomes the main thing. Like, we are less concerned with getting our way, or less concerned with proving a point, and more interested in what is rich and alive and of love. And my own work, my own personal work right now, entering the shamanic wheel, the thing that was really alive for me was my sense of the boundary line, my sense of where two places come together, my sense of two geographies mixing and matching. And I thought I was walking into the wheel with this interest with the boundary line. And very quickly, the medicine shifted gears for me, and it brought me into the middle. And it basically, the message was, like, you spent too long hypervigilant at the boundary line. It's time for you to take your place at the center, which might mean nothing to you, but in my heart and my nervous system, that's where my deepest work lies right now. That's the thing that'll get me all edgy and triggered and wound up. And so I have a lot of practices that keep bringing me back to the center, back to my own tenderness, back to holding my own heart. And that's where my work is. But what I realize is that that's how I want to be. That's how I want to live. That's how I want to relate. That's how I want to do my work. That's how I want to just be in the world every day. And so this message, obviously I feel it, but I hope you feel it too. Notice the place where you're considering how to be, and get curious about where you might lean into love. And I don't mean that as like a cute thing to say. I mean that as where do you lean into presence and possibility, and trying to see with as much clarity as possible, trying not to color what comes next with what's been in the past. it's serious work. I'm saying it like, so listen, just don't let the past cloud your future. It takes a lot of discipline and a lot of intentionality and a lot of presence and a lot of practice to do that. And yet you are totally capable of doing that. And the best part is it's in service to you. Will other people feel good to be in that space with you? Of course. Will the possibilities of what you might do expand so much when you're not beholding it to what was? 100%. But most importantly, you get to be there. You get to meet things as they are versus meeting them with all this baggage from the past. So the Knight of Wands is always going to remind us to be aware of our boundaries. But in this case, I invite you to the center with me. Like I invite you to step into the center. What if you are safe? What if you have done what needs to happen? What if you can trust yourself to meet the moment as it comes? You can't guarantee that your heart won't get broken, but what if I can guarantee that you are strong enough to endure it? What if I were to guarantee that it would be worth it, that you can live a life that's worth it? We will all leave in the end. Everyone will leave us. Everything will end. That's part of, again, this so present with us, the materiality, the limitations of this world. So much of this world is about the edges. And what we're being invited to do in this moment collectively is step towards the middle, because part of what that does is it not just makes you something precious and sacred, but it reminds everyone that they're also precious and sacred. It allows us to let our guard down a little bit. It's okay, so if I'm protected, if I'm safe, how would I move differently? Like just picture, what would you do differently? How would you choose differently? If you could meet every moment with fresh eyes, how might that shift your behavior? How might that shift your openness? And again, we really want to think about, notice where our heart has been hardened, to be patient with ourselves through that, to really understand that for ourselves, and then to make the effort, the courageous choice to stay open anyway, to keep our heart open anyway. That's what's happening with this Nine of Wands this week. So use your discretion, use your discernment, but notice if there's a part of you that kicks in, like this hypervigilance or this wounded warrior that kind of kicks into gear, and you always have the chance to recalibrate. Note, like someone says something, does something, something happens, and you shift into, I have to defend myself. Okay, take a breath. Do you? Like take a breath. Do you? I don't know. Maybe that's the right move, but maybe there's another choice there. Maybe there's an exhale and a possibility and a truth and a humanity in this moment that has never existed before. Whether it's an old person, an old project, a new person, a new project, you're meeting them this moment for the first time. So this Nine of Wands is just, I don't know. She's like, you can walk around defensive. You can have your eye on the road for the next challenge, or you can trust yourself and you can meet what comes as it comes, and with clear eyes and like in your power, in your strength, in your center. So that's the Nine of Wands for us this week. It feels good. It feels like I keep saying, you're going to suffer. We're going to get our heart broken. It's going to end. Like there are going to be moments where it's just hard. And you get to decide how you want to be in that. You get to not orient your whole life towards that. Because on the in-between, like when you're not there, can you be as free as possible? Can you be as loving as possible? Can you be as present as possible? Again, not an arrival, not like you're doing it right or wrong, just hey, there's more here. There's more possibility here. So that's where I go with the Nine of Wands this week. Notice, this is just an observation. There's a part of me that's afraid and in hypervigilance and expects the next shoe to drop. And then there's a part of me that is bigger than that and knows better and knows I've handled some wild stuff, and I can certainly handle what's happening now. And then our body's reaction to the environment, and then how our brain is processing that. And just the reminder that we're in this Three of Wands to the Nine of Wands, we're in an energetic movement. We're not in a thought movement. We're not in an emotional movement. We're in an energetic movement. And I think we're in an energetic up-leveling, because that movement from the Three of the Wands to the Nine of Wands in the tarot is such a profound movement. It's such a call to a higher octave. And I'm curious about how that movement happens for you between the Three of Wands week and the Nine of Wands week, and whether you can recognize that expansion, that, again, like that movement into a higher octave. I love you guys. I hope the new moon is gentle with all of us, but the Scorpio and me doesn't mind a little truth telling. We'll see what happens. Big hug and take really, really good care of yourself. Bye.